Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Regenerative Business Podcast, coming in hot with Jasmine Hayden, the Wealth Witch, as she goes by on Instagram. And we were just having a really fun conversation before I hit record and just decided we should probably be recording this. So a lot is happening in the world today, specifically. Ceasefire was announced today. The fires in LA happening. Just a lot is alive as it is more and more every single year as it tends to go on. And I had originally invited Jasmine on because of some of her writing around regenerative wealth. And that was months ago. So the conversation has expanded and evolved. And I'm just so excited to have you on today, Jasmine, and bringing your medicine here to us.
I'm so grateful and feel very privileged to share this space with you and to open up this conversation during these wild times that we are living in. And I think that it's so important for us to get to lean into our own edges of the things that aren't talked about as much as they can be, and bring power and liberation to sharing story, sharing wisdom, sharing truth, especially through our own lived experience. So I'm really, excited to dive in here with you.
Is there anything you want to just drop in as a hi, this is who I am before we jump right in?
Yes. Hi. I'm Jasmine Hayden, the Wealth Witch, also known as a somatic money coach, embodied leadership mentor. I am really passionate about spiritual teaching. I've done trauma-informed yoga teaching for some time now, and was brought into the business world, the coaching industry, through a lens of activism, and was doing a lot more of social justice, equity related facilitation and consulting before I came into this industry. And so for me, a lot of the way that I teach and I coach around money and nervous systems and expanding business through a regenerative lens comes from my passion and my fire to allow for our personal liberation to be a part of collective liberation with and beyond money.
So good. Can we start off with some definitions just right off the bat of what is regenerative wealth? What is decolonized wealth? Are they the same? Are they different? Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great way to start, because I think that for me, they have very distinct flavors, but they do very much go hand in hand. And I sometimes use them interchangeably because of how much I find that they overlap and intersect with one another. So the way that I've come to define regenerative wealth is it's intentionally disrupting and dismantling toxic capitalism, which goes towards money for the sake of greed, for hoarding, for control and manipulation of power in a harmful way, harmful to our bodies, harmful towards Mother Earth, harmful for each other. And regenerative wealth is the antidote to that, in that it's life-giving. It gives us life, it gives each other life, and it connects us to life that is beyond humanity. So connects us to Mother Earth and to all sentient beings. And when I talk about toxic capitalism and these different intersecting social issues like classism and genderism and racism, those all overlap with patriarchy as well. And the way that I see that patriarchy plays out in business in relation to money specifically is that pushing and forcing and extracting our own energy in a way that's draining and depleting and leaves us feeling just so exhausted. So we're unconsciously taught to harm ourselves to survive in that system. And regenerative wealth is, we get to learn how we can actually thrive in our bodies. We get to learn how to thrive in community. We get to learn how to thrive with money in a system that taught us how to survive and how to disconnect from ourselves, from our truth, from our ancient indigenous wisdom. And so decolonial wealth, it's similar to that and has all of those same principles. But I think the main distinction is also that decolonization in and of itself is, it's more coming from the place of of land back and land sovereignty for Indigenous people. The way that the expansion of that, and I think more of a personalization of that, and how I see decolonial wealth in my world and in my work, is reclaiming our own bodies, like reclaiming the land that is the body, that is us, the Mother Earth that we are made of, and allowing for us to get to feel more safe and free in our truest, most authentic expression and power, and to clear and free ourselves of stories and the beliefs and the thoughts that come from the colonial powers that essentially perpetuate the idea that we aren't enough, we're not doing enough, we're not good enough, we have to XYZ, fill in the blank, right? So colonization was created to divide and to exploit and to manipulate. And so to decolonize wealth is to come into oneness with yourself, with spirit, with Mother Earth, with community, and let that be something that's freeing each other, freeing ourselves. So yes, they're slightly different, but also very much, I use them interchangeably.
Well, it almost sounds with decolonial wealth, we're talking about using wealth in action, where like regenerative wealth is almost on the other side of what we're all trying to build together. It's kind of what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
Yeah, and it also brings, I think, decolonial wealth, one thing that I take in with it is that it's allowing for our individual actions, as you're saying, like our individual actions to be a reflection of what we want in the larger scale. And that happens when it's more embodied, because then we're able to share and to contribute and to be more generous towards, towards different organizations, towards different projects, towards people who are suffering the most, like, including Black people, including Indigenous people, including queer people, including trans people, including, right, all of these different communities and groups of people that have been marginalized and that have been extracted from and exploited the most because of colonization. And so when we do the work for ourselves and the actions that we take for ourselves at an individual level, and then as business owners as well in our business, we can be larger channels and stewards of resources, including money, to pour into the rest of the world in a way that's more regenerative for everyone. So yes.
So good. Thank you for that. And when we came into this conversation, one of the things that we were flirting with talking about was just as a part of this radical riches conversation that I've been doing over these series of podcasts, we've talked a lot about, as these sensitive beings, as people who care a lot and who want to see the world as a different place, it is in and of itself radical to be making a lot of money, because it gives you a lot of power, and it gives you power in and of itself. And then what you can actually do with the money is like this other form of power that can happen. And then there's weird stuff to get to that place and weird stuff that happens once you get to that place. One thing I would love to hear is your story around money and how you got to become this steward of wealth, this somatic money coach. Like, what got you here, and what things did you have to decondition and let go of, and trials that happened in the process?
Oh my God. Yeah. Woo, this is juicy. There's so much here. I will be succinct.
Best of luck.
Wow. Thanks. I need it. I'll take it. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, many generations ago. No, I'm kidding. I'm saying in this lifetime. Oh gosh. So I was raised by a single mom, a single Mexican mom in the Bay Area. My dad is an amazing man. I'm close to him and I've always had a relationship with him, but he wasn't in my household growing up. And he's Black. I'm from America. So I had a Black dad who I loved so much, and gave me these stories based off of his own lived experience being a Black man in America, that he wasn't doing it consciously, but him and I think all of my lineage from that side gave down these stories of, I I'm just surviving, I'm just surviving, I'm just surviving, I'm just surviving,
Yeah.
I'm just surviving, I'm just surviving. And my mom, witnessing her as a single mom doing the best she absolutely could to provide the best life that she could for me, and to put me in the kinds of places where I had more opportunity than she did, or more opportunity than my grandparents did. My grandparents were, they came to America when they were starting their family from Mexico. I saw her just bust ass. She was just working all the time. And so I had these imprints at such a young age from both of my parents and from my lineage of, you have to work so hard all the time just to survive.
Mhm.
So that was my conditioning around money that I carried. And it still definitely like shows up. This isn't completely cleared from my system. It shows up, but it's not my baseline, and it's not the way that I lead from. Whereas for the majority of my life, it very much was.
Mhm.
And so I busted ass through high school and to get myself into my dream colleges. And I got scholarships, thank God, but I was also working and going to school full time, doing like above my credit limit because I'm an overachiever. Was just still wanting to prove to myself that I was worthy of having money,
Yeah.
while also having this deep nervous system encoding of like, no matter how much money you make, you're still just surviving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it took me having to put myself in environments and have reflections of other people. For me, this is through like investing in ways that I were completely unfamiliar to me, because investing is not something that my family ever taught me. It wasn't something I ever really knew about. All I knew was debt and
Yeah.
survival.
Yeah.
And through making the kinds of choices that I did in my earlier adulthood, a part of this did come from moving to different places. So I lived in LA, I lived in New York, and I went on my first abroad trip in Europe. And then my travel bug, that's when it kicked in about, what was it, 11 years ago? That's when I started to travel. I started to expose myself to all different ways of life, all different ways of being, and started to see that I didn't have to feel that way with money. And I didn't have to feel like, to actualize my dreams, which up until that point and even afterward, definitely, it felt like my health, my well-being, my everything came at the cost of pursuing my ambitions or my dreams. And so there's a lot there ancestrally that has been these, there's been pivotal points where I've had these massive spiritual awakenings, and they've birthed from me these, well, not even birth, I want to say remembered. That's what it really has been. It's felt like I've remembered a, like, parts of my lineage that were not connected to survival in the way that I knew in this body in this lifetime, and that I was able to tap into a kind of abundance that's beyond money. And then as I tapped into that and deepened into that and continued to reclaim more and more of the power of feeling like joy with money, and feeling pleasure with money, and feeling liberated with money, and feeling just like, oh, wow, I can relax, I can rest, all of these things that I didn't feel safe in before. My nervous system didn't even know what it was like to feel restful, or to feel joyful and at ease while receiving a lot of money. It felt like those two didn't come together. That I started to retrain my nervous system, and I started to see how the way that I was stewarding money in terms of receiving it and then investing it and then expanding it and holding it and growing it, all of these different points in my money journey led me to be where I am now, where it's really wild. This is the reality I'm living in, where I'm working with the kinds of clients that I am, that are just such incredible, ambitious people like me, because, you know, we tend to attract and so ambitious and so incredible and making such amazing impact. While I'm in these places that I've been all over the world. It's been like 3 continents in the past few months, and seeing the way that my relationship is with money now, that when I was younger felt like it was just completely not possible. Like to be able to have, you know, the freedom and the luxury to relate to money as intimately, and also get to have this depth of like trust and faith outside of the survival paradigm. So I'll take a pause there because I could keep going on.
So I'm curious when you're making this transition from I'm just in survival mode and busting ass to survive into giving yourself rest and having money flowing in, was it taking action first and learning how to feel comfortable with it, or like making change first and learning how to feel comfortable with it, or feeling the comfort and then seeing reality shift around it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is so great because I actually have a little bit of a nuanced response to this. So it definitely was not feeling comfortable first. And a huge part of my journey has been learning how to feel comfortable because I was so used to not feeling comfortable with money
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have a lot of money, and so that was a huge initiation of itself. It's like, oh, like I get to do things that bring comfort to my life. Like I get to spontaneously book a 90-minute Ayurvedic massage, which I did yesterday. Like I get to like give some things more to my team because I just want to rest and take a nap in the middle of the day. Like that is a whole thing in and of itself in terms of how money gets to create comfort. And that came from making choices and taking actions that were extremely uncomfortable for
Like
me.
what? Like what?
Every single, oh my God, I have so many. Oh my God. So I'm someone that's like, I go, I'm not quite as extreme as I used to be, but I was very extreme in terms of like, I'm going to make a decision that is completely outside of my comfort zone because I know it's going to stretch me. And I know that growth is where that stretch zone is. And so I made choices like, I mean, my first coach, this was more for trauma work, but it was trauma and business and like creative expression. I didn't even have the money to pay her when we started working together. It was $3,000 for 3 months. I didn't have $3,000 to my name.
Yeah.
I had, I think maybe $1,000, and it was all I had. I did have the privilege at the time. I was staying with my mom, so I knew that I wasn't going to need to pay for rent, which is a huge thing that I think needs to be acknowledged more in this community in general, like the kinds of privileges that we do have. And so this was during the pandemic. It was just after I finished my master's at NYU, and it was a really intense period for me, but I felt like I wanted to start going like more into this work, into this business. And I made that investment, and I was so terrified because I'd never invested like $100 on myself, like ever, outside of my education, which was
Okay.
outside of my education and all of that. I never invested in like private, intimate support. And even my therapy had all been the therapy that I had access to at that point had all been through my insurance. And so I had a deposit that was like minuscule compared to how much it would have been without my insurance at the time, which was through my school also.
Yeah.
So that was even edgy for me at the time of both of those things, actually paying for insurance on my own once I lost my insurance from my school, and then receiving coaching for the first time. And what has happened since then, and there's been a number of times like this, is I make these investments where I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that who I'm becoming in the process of it and who I'm going to be on the other side is worth the time and energy that I'm putting into myself in receiving this kind of support. And so, yeah, with that particular time, it was, I think, 3 months that I had money coming in that I knew, like after we started working together, I knew there was going to be some streams. I was doing some facilitation work and some consulting work with different nonprofits at the time. And then I think it was maybe a week or two after that, I signed my first 9K client. And so I tripled my investment. And then I think that same month I had my first 25K sales month. And so it was really wild to start my business in such an expansive
And
way
how
because I hadn't
uncomfortable were
even,
you?
I was so uncomfortable. I was so massively uncomfortable. I couldn't even, at the time, I couldn't even conceive, like when I had first started working, I couldn't even conceive receiving that amount for my work. And it just felt like this very far away, maybe someday possibility. I'll be the kind of person, the kind of leader, the kind of coach who receives, 4 figures, 5 figures, like that amount of money for being of service, for like sharing my medicine, for sharing my work, because I had totally undervalued myself, even though I had like all of these trainings, all of these certifications, like whatever. I totally undervalued myself. And so I was so scared. I was so scared, and it felt so uncomfortable. And that's how it feels for me every time I'm meeting a new edge. And so that's why at this point I've learned, I'm like, okay, if I'm meeting a new edge, I'm like, this means that there's some really rich, big gold here for me to unpack and to experience. So yeah, it's been like doing the thing that makes me the most uncomfortable as often as possible, and then learning how to create comfort for myself while I'm already like going through the process of that.
So I was expecting the opposite answer because like with like somatic people who are like all like somatic coaches, I'm always like, oh, they're expanding their nervous system first and then they're like taking the step from there. So it's like it's interesting to be like, no, like I actually I'm assuming you use the somatic stuff to support the big actions you're taking, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I think that some of the things that I've learned with myself around like somatic work and nervous system work is like there's always going to be things that feel like we're dying, like that
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to die if I do this thing. And then for me, it's like, okay, learning how to resource myself
Yeah.
so that I don't feel like what it seems like inside. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, what does it mean like to breathe space into and to nourish and nurture the parts of me that are activated, that are triggered, that are starting to have these survival responses or these stress responses? And then from there, like expanding my own capacity and calibrating my own system to be like, this is okay too. This is okay too.
Yeah.
You can hold this too. You're okay with this too. Because every time that I've met the edge where I thought that like I couldn't hold it, I've gone beyond my own perception of myself and my own like belief in myself, because I'm like, oh, I can fucking hold this. But the version of me before I stepped into this thought I wasn't capable of holding this.
Okay, so I have a question that I wasn't expecting to ask and I don't know the answer to at all. So it's like pure curiosity. I'm wondering if what parallels you see between more money and more visibility. 'Cause I'm like recognizing in
Mm,
myself, like I've had a pretty easy time like making more money, but it's like the more visibility piece or like fucking up publicly is like this like
mm,
big scary thing for me, for a lot of people. Like we all know this. But I feel like there's some parallel here that I don't know of like more money, more visibility and expanding
mm.
and capacity expansion.
Can we get a little witchy? Are you down to be a little
Yeah,
witchy
of
on this?
course.
Okay. Okay, because I'm like, I want to travel to some dimensions with you on this.
Love it.
Okay, so there was a period of my life where I went through some like past life regressions. I was like traveling through the Akashic records and I was like, holy shit, I didn't know I had access to all this information. And one of those lifetimes I was a witch and I got hung
Hmm.
and I witnessed myself. It was this very interesting journey where I felt completely safe because I felt my spirit team around me and I was witnessing this to be able to see what had happened and to know why I was bringing that into this lifetime. And so I was hung in this lifetime and I died. And what came through from that when I came back into this time and space reality was recognizing the fear of being seen in power and in a woman's body, especially. And then for me, a woman of color's body, especially with money.
Hmm.
And so there's a realness to not only ancestral, but depending on, you know, your own connection karmically with like past lives where you did die, or where it felt like you were going to be, you know, burned at the stake, or where it felt like, yeah, like you'd be exiled, or there's just such a deep survival instincts that get activated around visibility. And so I think that for me, it's been such a huge journey of getting to reclaim the power to be seen, holding power, when all of the tender parts, all of the like the old familiar comfort patterns are like hide, like don't share, like just stay quiet. And then there's also, you know, from my lineage, there's from the black side of like silence to survive as well, you know, like so there's it's real. And I've had so many experiences in my life that I've been deeply challenged with speaking my truth for fear of exactly those things, of like being exiled, of no longer feeling a sense of belonging, of feeling like I would lose my voice, things like this. And so I think that when it comes to online presence and even, in-person presence, because I went to this, we were talking about this conference a little bit ago. I went to this conference and it was massive for me to be in a room with like 400 other women. I think there was maybe 5 women there that were Black. Everyone else was not. And it was massive for my nervous system to be like, wow, I am not only belonging here in the sense of, the quality of my work and in my leadership and my thought leadership and whatnot, but just like me in my body as a queer, non-binary, Indigenous, Black woman who is working in the wealth world, in the money world.
Yeah.
That was so expansive for my nervous system, because there was a time where I would have shut down. Like years ago, I would have shut down. And that's so normal for us as humans that are taking up more space online, talking about conversations that aren't talked about as much, or that are more edgy, or that are just not as, accepted, because it's triggering for some people, and that discomfort makes some people feel repulsed or want to lean out. And, people like us, we're like, okay, let's lean into this discomfort in hearing things that we might not have ever heard before, and also saying the things that we have never felt safe enough to say before. And so for me and my own nervous system and my own somatic work, it's like a constant practice of like, sorry about the episode that I just recorded for myself a few days ago. It's like, oh my gosh, I have some things I want to say, but I'm feeling so terrified about saying these things, but I know I need to say them like for myself. And then it's through me using my voice to liberate myself, I know that it is creating more liberation for the world in general. Mm-hmm. And it's so interconnected.
So good. Okay, so you went there. So let's switch gears over there. Let's talk about doing well and having your own experience of life while simultaneously holding space for and not averting your eyes from the shit that's happening in the world.
Yes. Okay. What just came through, so I'm just going to drop into what just wanted to be shared, was when I was in India. This was in October. I was there with my teacher, the person who's trained me in all of my yoga certifications and in trauma-informed somatic stuff. And I was there sitting in practice, sitting in ceremony with our teacher's teacher, so Yogrishi Vishvakatu, right by the Ganga River. And I'm there having this surreal, magical experience of, holy shit, India has been a lifelong dream. Well, that's not true. It's been the lifetime since I found yoga. So it was about 10 years ago, maybe. So that lifetime, it'd been a dream. I wanted to get trained in India, actually, but then I decided to get trained online because of the pandemic. So it was a lifelong dream. And I'm there, I'm like, wow, I'm here. I've worked so hard to get here. And I find out the election results. Like literally it's happening while I'm there. And I'm like, whew, this is heavy. This is hard. This is bringing up a lot for me. And while I'm there, we are going to different parts of the community that our money is being stewarded to from the experience that we paid for. So I paid for it was a tiger safari experience. And then it was also the spiritual pilgrimage experience. And the portion of that money was going towards a specific children's school that was being completely remodeled. So we got to meet all of these children and go inside of the classrooms and connect with them and see all of the books and just see the before and after of what the school was and then what it is now. And then we went to this children's home and we gave them so many just books and toys, and they were singing and dancing, and there was just so much joy and so much love in the room. I'm like, wow, I'm a part of this. I helped create this for these children. And meanwhile, as we're walking to the ashram, we were passing by, women and children that are begging for money every day. It's incessant. It's everywhere. There's no way, I think in the US and in other parts of the world, you can just avoid it. If you have the privilege to not look at what's happening, then you won't have it in your awareness as much. In India, at least where I was, it's just rampant. It's everywhere. I'm in the bus and people are banging on the window asking for food and money. And so all of those are happening at the same time while I'm also feeling what's going on in the US and processing my own, emotions around what's happening in the US while my client's having her highest month ever in her business. She had 92K cash month. We doubled her month from the previous one. And my other clients are having like their highest cash days, their highest cash months. And I'm like, wow, this is all happening literally. Like that all happened in a day.
Yeah.
In a day, all happening at the same time. And so for me, like being real with the pain and the injustice and the discomfort of knowing that there's so much going on in the world and there's only so much that we can all ever do, while also holding, wow, I'm getting to live a life that's beyond my wildest dreams and I have more of a capacity to serve than I ever had before because of the way that I've transformed my own relationship to money and transformed my own relationship to wealth, and to have, the privilege to go to these places and to give and to feel overflowing in my own resourcing with myself, and to know that there's so many things that are happening that, only we all have a limit to our capacity. And I think that's what we're just in the process of as leaders, as visionaries, is constantly stretching our capacity. Like, okay, how much can I give? How much can I serve while I'm still resourced, while I'm still overflowing, while I'm still allowing for the joy and the pleasure and the magic of life to turn me on, to fill me up. And so I think that that's just a perfect example, because it was like I was also having a panchakarma experience. I don't know if you've heard of this. I had never heard of this before. So I did not know about what a panchakarma was. And I've been going deeper and deeper into my Ayurvedic studies. But so I'm receiving, like, literally for a week long, I'm receiving these like 90-minute massages, these herbal treatments,
like oils
my
being
Ayurvedic
poured onto
doctors,
you.
like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm a queen in India. Like, this is the best. Wow, I'm like witnessing, you have genocide, witnessing child labor, while like child like slavery, really, not labor, witnessing all of these things. And it's like, like I don't have to feel it all the time, but I can know myself, know my body, and be tuned in enough to give space to being with more and more, and letting it be like the constant journey of, I can stay connected to myself, I can stay connected to humanity, versus the older or the younger version of myself where it would get so overwhelming. And it would feel like too much as someone who's so sensitive, that I would just need to shut down and like not engage, just completely disengage, and then come back in and see what I wanted to do. And there's nothing wrong with, I think, taking space, for sure. I go off grid sometimes, I like go offline. So there's nothing wrong at all with choosing to disconnect from things. But to stay connected, I think, is a really powerful way that somatic work and that nervous system work serves us. It's like I can stay connected with all of this and hold all of this at the same time,
So, what are a few small things that people can do as we see more and more natural disasters happening in the planet, or other things, but that we know that those are going to keep happening more and more frequently, while hopefully things are going incredibly well in their personal lives?
Yes. I think that honoring grief is such a big part of being human during these changing times, because it can be, I think this is a part of toxic capitalism and colonialism, to bypass the realness of the ecological grief and the social grief and the collective grief. And I call it the pleasure palace. This is one of my favorite things. I'm like, I'm going into my pleasure palace, and it's just where I just drown myself with all of the things that feel so fucking good. I light up my candles. I have my like rose jasmine oil. I take baths. I take showers. I make love to myself. I take myself out on dates. I go to the beach. I like lay on the grass. I connect with the mountains, with the trees, really connecting with Mother Earth in whatever ways I can. So there's so many different pleasure practices in the pleasure palace. And for me, I'm like, whatever it is that my body or my spirit is like, what would really feel nourishing and supportive for me, I create a way to be in the pleasure palace, and to also allow for whatever emotions need to show up and need to be moved through. And whatever, usually it's a lot of rage. I have ancestral rage that gets activated, and I get so angry. And so there's the rage, there's the sadness, there's the grief. Those are, for me, are like the three emotions that show up the most when I'm seeing the way that the climate crisis is showing up in the world. And honoring those emotions, like actually being with them, crying it out, screaming it out, feeling it out, like accepting that they're a part of our humanity and not trying to push them away or avoid them, and being so gentle and tender with myself through all of the ways that I fill up my own cup, and to make sure that I'm overflowing, getting support from friends, from community, from mentors, and taking the action. So to make it more tangible, so I'll use three things that you asked. So I said the grief. So when you feel sadness or grief or pain that feels intense, is creating space to honor it with having pleasure tools that will allow for the process to be softer, gentler, or to alchemize them into a connection with pleasure, so that your body and your mind aren't associating pain with like death or survival. It's like, I can get through this, like I can move through this. There's goodness on the other side of this, even if it doesn't feel good right now. Two is, I'd say, deepening in our relationship with Mother Earth is such an important part of connecting to the pain that we're experiencing in a way that's regenerative. So for me, that's like, if I need to go out for a hike and completely let go of anything I had planned for the day or anything I had intended for the day, because that's actually going to be more nourishing and more supportive for my nervous system to be able to be with what is, then that means I go out and do it. So I've been going on a lot of hikes lately. I go out to the ocean and I'll just like go and swim and cry sometimes. So deepening in your connection with Mother Earth and praying with Mother Earth, which I guess I'll use that as a third one. I pray a lot, praying for, wisdom from myself, from my spirit guides, from my ancient ancestors, from Mother Earth, and grounding in gratitude through our prayer, knowing that there's only so much that we can control, but it's what it is that we do control that is where we have our own power. So it's okay, I'm here, it hurts, it's devastating. What is here for me? How can I show up for this? What do I need? What do I need to remember? What am I not seeing? Right? Like, those are the kinds of questions that I can ask myself sometimes, depending on how deep I go, to connect me to that which is beyond, the limits of my own mind or my ego or my, like, just me, Jasmine, in, Brazil. It's like, this is so much bigger than me, and connecting to the bigger picture and the bigger mission that, my soul is on, that the souls that I connect with are on, and unifying in that too. Like, that's where community really comes in as well. And praying in community is such powerful medicine for me. Whenever I'm praying in community, it reminds us, like, we are so strong and we are so resilient, and we are here just for a glimpse of time. And every activist knows that the movement is larger than us, and it's going to continue on after we're gone. So it's about, who are we showing up during the time that we're alive, and how are we serving this larger mission, and then allowing for us to get to feel good in the process of that, and feel better in the process of it, while not disconnecting or disowning the parts that don't feel good.
So good. Okay, I want to shoot to the other side of this. And what are some starter practices or favorite practices for anyone who's listening who feels like money feels sticky, tight, not happening in business, things are not feeling good? What do you say to them?
Mm. Ah. Okay. So I think one of the ways that we really revolutionize our relationship with money is changing the way that we're connecting to it. So if we're in a relationship with money where it feels like sticky, hard, and tight, tune into, okay, what action can I take right now that would allow for money to feel more clear? Which for me is, if there's something that I hadn't been looking at, I make sure I look at it. So avoiding is a huge thing that I see with people when it comes to, like, oh, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like it's too heavy, or, so they avoid looking at certain aspects of the way that money is flowing. So if something feels like, yeah, like sticky, it's like, okay, how can I clear this up, for example? If something feels heavy, what are actions that I can take to lighten some of this heaviness. And so sometimes that's like overspending, or sometimes that is letting yourself get to a place where the way that you're spending money isn't actually in alignment with your values or in alignment with the most generative flow of energy for you. So that's like choosing to redirect where certain money is going into other places. And then if it's feeling like, what was it, sticky, heavy, and what was the last one, tight? Tight. Okay, so then if I'm feeling tight around money, I'm like, okay, how can I create space for this? So I open up. So I open up my relationship to money. I'm like, if I'm feeling like I'm really tight, where am I feeling the tightness in my body? What is a story that this tightness is telling me? What am I making this mean? And then how can I create space in my body to feel this, to process this, to move through this? And I have different money coaches talk about money dates. I get really sexy with my money dates. So mine are a little kinky. And so if I'm noticing that, and this happens with my clients too, like when we're moving through a specific kind of contraction, bringing all of that to the table as you are with your money. So whether this is a specific bank account or specific investing or your budget or the way that you're tracking, like bring all of that there, and bring in what I call somatic liberation work or embodied alchemy work, is like bring in the music, bring in whatever is going to turn you on or is going to allow you to move through the shit that your body is carrying around that relationship that you currently have with money, and allow for your relationship to money to get even closer. It's like, okay, I see you. I see that this is happening. I want to show up for you. I'm here for this. And it fucking hurts. Or, oh, this feels like it's sticky. Or, oh, like this feels like we're in this relationship that isn't working for us. Like, how can we make this better? Right? Like actually communicate with the energy of it. And sometimes I have like full on breakdowns and just like let myself, whenever I'm like going through any kind of contraction, money or not money related, and let myself like, oh God. And then what naturally happens for me, and this is what I teach a lot in my work, is like it naturally leads when you train yourself to pleasure, because your body wants to feel better. And so you learn different tools and practices of like touching your skin, rubbing oil on yourself, like going through like caresses or getting to like squeeze different parts of yourself. So then you're like, it starts to get like kinky, and you can like enjoy like, ooh, like I love that. Even though it felt sticky, and even though it felt hard, and even though like I know you're here for me, like I know that you got me, like I know we're gonna get through this. And then depending on how deep you want to go, for me it usually leads to orgasms, but to each their own. You can let yourself get just super wild and free with it. Like feel the wildness, feel the freedom, feel the power in your body, and then let that be like an expansion of your relationship with money. It's like, oh God, like I'm so fucking happy that we got here. And there's gonna be shit that can come up because we're not perfect and we make mistakes. And like this is a growth over a lifetime. This is like we are continuing to evolve forever. So of course, like we're committed. We're in a secure attachment. It doesn't mean that it's all rainbow and butterflies, but it means like we know how to come back to love, we know how to come back to compassion, we know how to come back to trust, and we show up when it gets hard.
So what I loved so much about, or one of the things I loved so much about what you just said, was there was such a clear, you had different responses based on the words that I said. So like for everyone listening, your first thing is to identify the feeling, sensation, or like what is your association with money. And even if money is wonderful right now, like what are if it's sticky, like it feels sticky, or ooh, it feels like a little tight here, or oh, like I just, it feels heavy, like identify what that thing is for you. And then it sounds like you were kind of like either doing like how could we open up the opposite, or how could we like feel this feeling, or what could we bring in to like open this up. So I thought that was really fun just to witness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a leaning into what is already here and what is present, because I think the conditioning for a lot of us is to just turn away from it and like, oh, it'll go away eventually, but it's actually like it's moving through it. So okay, this is here, and then when you're with it, whatever it is, letting that then also be permission and invitation to bring in what it is that would support that, which is usually the antidote. It's usually the thing that feels like the opposite of that. It's like, oh, I can be with this, and can I let a little bit of this in, and can I let a little bit of this in, and how can these alchemize and work together here?
I love that. So I wanted to ask you about your world tour, but we've run out of time. So they're gonna have to go listen to your podcast to hear about the world tour. For everyone listening, if they, where can they find you on the internet? If they want to take like a little next step with you, what would that be? If they're like, I want all of Jasmine, what would that be?
Yeah. So if you want to take a little next step with me, you can go to, we have Revolutionary Rich was the most recent turn on event that I did back in December. And there's six, I'm pretty sure it's like 6 hours, 4.5, 6 hours of really juicy goodness in there. And that's, I think yeah, it's already available for you there. And then right now I'm doing Watch Me Rise. So if you're watching this after we run live, then you're welcome to come in and watch the replays of Watch Me Rise, which is going to be fucking fire. And if you're ready to go all the way fucking in, I have space in my one-on-one right now. I've been having a lot of fun with one-on-one work, and you can reach out to me, DM me, and we can talk about what one-on-one work looks like inside of my containers, my private work. And yeah, the worldwide tour has been such a wild ride. So I've been sharing weekly episodes from that in my podcast, the Here We Grow podcast. And that is the best place to come in if you're just wanting to get to know me better and take a step without investing money.
Yeah, no.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jasmine. This was so fun. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So I'm like, oh, I have to like get off and talk to my COO. But hey, do you have any like
That is so real.
do you have any like final messages for people listening that you really want to leave them with?
Yeah, I think that these are the times right now, and it feels more real and true for me than ever. These are the times that really call us forward. And when it could be, so intense and overwhelming to witness like hardship and also be expanding our wealth and expanding our impact and growing money and growing our businesses, that this is the times when we really get to see through all of our darkness, through all of our shadow, through all of our full spectrum humanity, like all of the different parts of us that can get resistant to the what it is that's calling us up, what's calling us forward. Like this is where we see what we're made of. And so I just fully believe that if you're here and if you're listening to this, you're someone that has so much capacity and potential to change the world through your work and through your medicine. And it's so needed. And we need people like you holding and expanding and circulating more money in regenerative ways for our own collective liberation. And this is how we heal the planet. This is how we heal each other. And this is how we really make our own life feel the depth of meaningfulness and fulfillment that we all deserve.
Perfect way to end.